And we are back. Second day of IFA 2015 in Berlin. We are still in Hall 16. That means we are still in the TechLounge studio at the Intel booth. And, you know, now we're going to talk to someone who has one of the most interesting job titles in the world. He's actually the director of enthusiasm at Microsoft, or for Windows, and that's Boris Schneider-Johne. Well, now you're called the director of, what is it?
That's a fun title. Officially, I'm program manager, product manager for Windows in Germany. But people tell me I'm very enthusiastic sometimes.
So you are the director of enthusiasm. Boris, your keynote, your press conference yesterday was obviously all about Windows 10. Huge launch for you. Let's say it was the biggest launch for Microsoft in the history of Microsoft, the most important launch for Microsoft. I think that's fair to say, right?
Yeah, very important and very different to the way Microsoft had done these things before.
I mean, the way you started your open beta program, where you invited users to test Windows 10, where you took a lot of feedback, you took a lot of criticism with Windows 8, and also a lot of constructive feedback, in my opinion. And this is definitely what shows in Windows 10 right now. Of course, I've updated on the very first day. Seriously, I really waited for my daily driver to get the final version, and I'm using it on my Dell, and I'm loving it. It's by far the best Windows ever. No, it's not by far the best Windows for me. It's the best operating system that is out there.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, and the Insider program played a really big part. Yeah. It's just the best tested version, because up to the launch about 5 million people were in the Insider program. I've just heard it's now 7 million people that are trying new Windows builds on the machines. So because it's a huge project. I mean, you've heard this number of 75 million people running Windows 10 already, which is good. Yeah. The number that fascinates me even more is there's about 90,000 different PCs. So 90,000 different combinations of hardware that run Windows 10 at this very moment. 90,000. I mean, to get that up and running and to have not a lot of technical problems, I think that's the real big thing that, again, the Insider program did, because a lot of configurations were tested right from the start.
Well, just to give you a little bit of an idea what this would mean for the mobile computing market, there are roughly about 24,000 different Android handsets out there. And I know that companies are constantly complaining about fragmentation with Android handsets, and developers are complaining about this. And then I'm always telling them, hey, how about I'm going to introduce it to an x86 developer and who's developing for Windows, and he's going to tell you a little bit about different versions, different resolutions, different graphic cards, different CPUs, different versions, or different sizes of RAM. It is amazing how scalable Windows is.
Yeah, and now with Windows 10 and the new platform for universal apps, where a developer can write code once and it scales down to a phone, it can scale down to a headless IoT device if it works there. It doesn't make sense for a lot of programs to run there, but you can go down, you can go up to large all-in-one, you can go sideways to an Xbox One in the future. You can take our big conference room solution, the Surface Hub, and have applications run there. And again, it's one piece of code that automatically scales through all that without any fragmentation. So that's very clever.
That's the so-called Continuum that you introduced, and once again, that's absolutely amazing, and it's hopefully really steering up also the mobile market. What's happening on the Windows 10 handsets for developers to have a chance to really develop for a desktop, for a tablet, but also for mobile. Plus, in the future, I mean, the Xbox will also run on Windows 10, right?
It will run some sort of Windows 10. You'll get a lot of the benefits, and again, development will be easier for that. So the folks over at Xbox here at Gamescom, again in Germany, in Cologne, showed a bit of what is going what it is going to look like in the future, and I think they'll make some more announcements pretty soon about how this is going to work out on the Xbox.
Well, just to let you know, if you have any questions regarding Windows 10, if you also have any questions regarding the Xbox One or Windows 10 on phones, feel free to just leave us a little note in the chat. I'm constantly monitoring this. This is not meant to be rude when I'm looking at my laptop while Boris is talking to me. Right? I'm just trying to catch up with you guys on the chat and try to pick up some questions and to see what we can ask him then. So yeah, and once again, I also need to tell you, with Windows 8, I was always using a start menu from a third party. And when I've upgraded, yes, I've had to do that. I'm a start menu person. Yeah. When I've upgraded to Windows 10, they still had I still had this third-party start menu installed, and Nicole, my co-founder, told me, no, it's actually you need to ditch it. You need to get rid of it right now, because you're basically using this for the last 20 years since Windows 95, right? That was the principle of the start menu. And I got rid of it and just sat down for about an hour and personalized my start menu right now on Windows 10. And I love it. I just really love it. I've had no idea. I was just too lazy and maybe a little bit too, I wouldn't say conservative, but it's about these old habits, right? And now I have a start menu that is just so personalized and so fantastic and dynamic, and that is the beauty of it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it really combines the good parts of Windows 7 and all the shortcuts and keyboard thingies that everybody who's on Windows 7, who's a real power user, he'll be delighted, or she, because everything's at the place where you expect it to be, and your mouse movements work the same way, so you don't have to relearn everything. Windows 8, I need to say, Windows 8 really is really good. It was, especially on touch screens.
Absolutely.
When we asked users after about 2 weeks, it was the best tested version ever. They said the usability is fantastic, but you had to relearn. Right. And a lot of people didn't want to relearn. So the clever thing about Windows 10 is to see, to find out how we can make the relearning part as small as possible so that people find things in the places they used to be, and anything you learn still sort of works, but then get all the really new stuff like live tiles, which is absolutely fantastic. I think live tiles still is one of the most underestimated features in Windows 10 because look, I open up, well, you have a great start menu there.
Now look at this. So this is my start menu right now. And so, as you can tell, it is dynamic. What I see over here, it's connected to my Twitter account, right? Over here, we have some wallpapers that are running through there. I have the latest news. I have the latest sports news. I'm getting recipes in here. I know what's happening in the Xbox store. I know how many... Jesus, 953 unread mail. I just have to do this inbox zero, project inbox zero, which means I have to delete them all. Let's see what's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen, right? I just love it. And look at all these small little tiles that I'm using here. So these are my most used apps here. Like I love OneNote. And over here, I'm using the Flipboard app of Windows 10 because I'm constantly reflipping news. So, and here's HipChat and my Office. It is fantastic.
Is this a touchscreen machine?
No, it's not.
And you're still using it in terms of it's faster with mouse and keyboard, and it helps you a lot.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But you should get a touch machine sooner or later.
No, actually, I switched back from a touchscreen.
Ah,
yeah.
Okay.
It was a decision in terms of battery life, and the only way to get a touchscreen version of this Dell XPS 13 was by switching over to a 4K display. And I'm fine with 1080p. That's good enough, right? By the way, this is something that Microsoft has to work on.
4K?
When I compare this to macOS, when you look at a MacBook Air or a Retina Mac, the way a macOS can dynamically scale the resolution is absolutely amazing. And I just really can't do this right now on Windows.
Have you tried a 4K display?
Oh yes,
on
I do. Yes, I do have one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I have to change the resolution of the icons just to make them bigger again.
Oh, you should. There's sort of an automatic scaling. You can just go into the system settings, say everything to 200%. That should do it automatically once it sees a high DPI screen.
Right.
Most stuff will work dynamically. Everything that's new, of course, will.
Okay.
And some older programs in the Win32 space, they're still not very resolution aware.
Right.
I've seen a lot of funny jokes that, for example, Skype, the desktop app from Microsoft, is one of those apps that just doesn't scale very well when you push it to a high DPI screen. So there's some homework we have to do ourselves on some of our apps. Yeah. But most of the modern stuff works really, really well.
Fantastic.
And it scales dynamically over several displays.
Nice.
So, for example, if you have high DPI display as an external monitor and a smaller, just full HD screen on the other side, if you get apps back and forth, they automatically scale depending on which part of the monitor most of it is. So you can actually take an app, move it over, and see immediately everything switches to a different size. So it's a lot better than it used to be.
Okay, so I need to check it out on Windows 10, which gives me more opportunities and possibilities for my next laptop, which I have to buy soon because I want to get a Skylake one. I need to. I just need to. Let's take a look at the chat. Jens is asking if there will be a new a Surface with Windows 10 sooner or later. I'm sure about that.
Well, Windows 10 runs very well on all the Surface Pro machines that are out there. I still have a Surface Pro 2.
Yeah.
So I haven't upgraded to the 3. I'm fine with Windows 10 on that machine. It's a free upgrade,
right?
Like with just about every other machine out there. So, so you should try that. And people keep asking me, will there be a new Surface? And it's like asking, will there be a new something? Of course, sooner or later there will, but I have no further information.
Let's see what else. Of course, guys. You should remember that in the first 12 months of Windows 10, if you have at least a Windows 7 machine, you can upgrade for free, and I can only recommend it. There are many ways to do that. You can just register online, but you can even do this manually, and it's just very, very easy because you can install a little installer that is downloading the whole package, and then it's just, it's easy peasy, and you're gonna love it. You're really gonna love it. Let's take a look at the German chat. Yeah. Now, seriously, I think what I really loved about Windows 8 was the performance of it. There was a huge difference compared to Windows 7.
Yeah.
I still couldn't get rid of my user scenario, and once again, these old habits that grew with Windows 7, because there was Windows 8 was a shift of paradigms, like a really radical shift, since the very first radical shift since Windows 95, basically. Yeah. But now with Windows 10, for me, it feels like you got the best of both worlds, but by still staying quite desktop-centric, focused, which is, I think, a good thing, right? While, of course, Windows 10 looks different on a tablet, and it looks different on a phone, right? But on the desktop and on a notebook, it just looks like an amazing operating system, and I'm loving it each and every day I'm using it. And once again, the performance of it is great. My favorite is Cortana, that you integrated it, because I think it really makes sense to have this on a desktop.
Yeah, it does.
It just, plus the gestures that they're using right now on the trackpad. For example, you can open up Cortana by just tapping on your trackpad with 3 fingers, right? And then Cortana opens up. It shows me my, oh, look at this, Microsoft dinner at 7. First thing that's showing up, right?
Oh, very well.
Yeah, let me just show you this, because I think those gestures are. If you're not familiar with this is something that you should definitely try out. So let's just wait a second until the camera can get this, and then I'm going to walk you. Here we go. Right. So if I'm just tapping with 3 fingers, look at this, tap, and here's Cortana. Right. So whether I'm going to just use an ordinary text input, or I could just press here the microphone, and I can just talk to Cortana. And I'm getting my latest update. I have this Microsoft dinner. This is connected to my calendar. I would get the weather updates and whatnot. I could leave little notes in here, and here's a notebook, my latest events and all of this. It is just fantastic. And some other gestures. Hold on, let's go into a little bit more. If you just swipe down with 3 fingers, look at this. I'm going to, or I can just swipe to this side. I just love it. I really love it. As soon as you get used to these gestures, you don't want to miss anymore.
You do need a high precision touchpad for that, though.
Yes.
There's a couple of older machines.
Yes.
If you're coming from Windows 7, that might not support this because the touchpad isn't good enough to get free ThinkerPads. But if you have, it's great.
Yeah, just because some people were asking this in the chat. This is a Dell XPS 13. So this is basically, it's called 13. But this is basically like a 13.3-inch screen squeezed into an 11.6-inch form factor. There's also an XPS 15, which is using a 15.6-inch in a 13.3-inch form factor. I just love it, and you saw the bezel. Battery life is about around 7 hours. I'm running a Core i5 system here with 8 gigabytes of RAM and a 256 gigabyte SSD, and this is by far the best laptop I've ever had. And it's roughly around 1,000 euros for the non-touch version, 1080p. It's a really cool device. And Windows 10 made it even better.
Okay.
So, what else is on the roadmap for you guys? What about, a lot of people were asking about Xbox One, how Xbox One can connect to Windows 10. I will now be able to stream my Xbox One games to Windows, right?
Right. If you have a Windows 10 machine, you have a good wireless or wired connection at home, you can take your Xbox in your living room, and then let's say your spouse wants to see a movie on the big screen, so you can decide, well, I'm going to play a game, I'm going to play that on my PC. I just put the game disc, or if it's a downloaded game, I just run it without the game disc, of course, in the Xbox One, and it streams to my PC in the Xbox app. And it works really, really well. It has pretty low latency.
Yeah.
And the Xbox does all the video encoding and takes the input. The one thing you really need is your controller. The good thing is the controller works with every PC that has Windows 10. So you can play PC games with it, and you can play Xbox games with it, with your Xbox that's somewhere in your house. It just needs to be on the same local network. And it works really, really well. It's impressive. I mean, you have games where you usually, let's take racing games. So if you want to be really fast, you have to have a very low latency, and that's a problem. And if you're a video gamer and you're not too technical, you usually have a PC, you forget to set up the game, a TV, you forget to set up the gaming mode, so you're already usually on those larger screens running 120 millisecond latency anyway on your screen that you don't realize you have. And so your PC might actually be faster than your TV at home.
Yeah, I think that's another huge advantage and the beauty of what we have now with Windows 10, that the way it can interact with other devices of this ecosystem, whether it's your controller, whether it's my Xbox One, whether it's going to be my Windows tablet or my Windows phone. That's quite interesting to have this compatibility over this huge portfolio. And you have even more, like during Build Conference, I've had the chance to play with your HoloLens for like 90 minutes, and I was just blown away by it. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it. I mean, there's a lot of buzz around Oculus Rift, of course, which will be also compatible with Windows 10 systems, maybe even with Xbox One system consoles in the future. Who knows? But there's also the Microsoft HoloLens. It's not a real virtual reality smart glass, but it's an augmented reality one. So you have like a stereoscopic display in front of you, and then they're kind of projecting virtual 3D objects into the real world. And we were doing a little developer session during your build conference. And I told you this already in our chat before. I've never seen like 40, 50 tech journalists just crawling around on the floor looking for some virtual 3D objects that rolled underneath a couch or underneath a seat, or that were looking into a virtual hole that opened up on the floor, right? It was absolutely amazing. And I think, well, your Minecraft demo with the HoloLens is already a classic. What you were showing at E3, how this Minecraft world built up on this table, and you could just walk around and look at it from all sides. It is mind-blowing. Whenever you have the chance to try out the HoloLens, you have to do it. Your life will never be the same after this. Did you have a chance to play with it?
Yeah, I tried it once.
It's crazy,
it's like, yeah, it makes you proud to work for this company. No, it really will be great. It's still a bit off, so it's not going to be something you can wish for Christmas. But when it's there, it's going to be, as the Americans say, awesome.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
It's a game changer. And I think it's also a little bit of a game changer for Microsoft as a company, because this is a completely new field that you're entering, and it's not only for gaming, but I like the way you're also cooperating, like for example, with engineers, with scientists, and all of this.
I don't think it will be a gaming device starting day one.
Yeah.
There might be some applications, but in the end, or not in the end, at the start, this is more like for architects, where you can do very good visualizations, and you can change them on the fly. Architects right now, they build a model, they show that to their clients, then the client said, we need to change this and this, then they go back and build a new model. Now they can go into their PC, change something in the 3D model, and everybody in the room has a HoloLens, already sees the updated version on the table. Things like that will be very, very, very exciting at the start. So, yeah. Yeah, but look, Microsoft does innovate a lot. It's not like HoloLens is the first big idea we had in a couple of years. I mean, there's a lot of technology. For example, you've seen Kinect. That's a couple of years old, and the second version of Kinect, some of the technology that's in Kinect goes into HoloLens, because we need to know the room, and we need to see gestures that you do. So there's something. Kinect, for example, plays a slight role in the Surface Hub. If you've seen Surface Hub, that's the large screen for conference rooms. That can take your meeting notes, that can do video conferencing, that does whiteboarding. It's a so clever solution. You have to see, if you run a company and you have a conference room, you really want to have a Surface Hub next year. Really, really want to have one. I know I want to have one in our conference room, which we don't have yet. And it's a very, very clever device. And again, it takes a lot of innovation, for example, from Kinect, from other branches of the company, and then the whole cloud thing. Again, if you want to go back to gaming, if you've seen the demo of the new Crackdown game on Xbox One, it's a game, multiplayer, where you can basically destroy a whole city. So you can blow up buildings and everything. And the fun part is that all the building blow-up explosion thingy is running on servers. Because the Xboxes wouldn't be powerful enough. They have plenty to do to show you all the graphics and everything. So we take the Azure server farm, and there's a server chugging along, and that does all the calculations for proper physical building demolition and so forth, which then streams to all the players that are in the city. And again, you need for that a lot of technology that was developed by Microsoft in the past years in servers, in network latency, and all that stuff. So there is a lot of innovation going on at Microsoft that you don't really see, because it just ends up as a tiny part in a project, like a game. But the company really does a lot of stuff that is really good.
Absolutely. And once again, you know what? Actually, I bought my first Xbox One, finally. It's not my first Xbox. I've had the two previous versions. Still have the 360. Don't have the very first one anymore. I finally got myself an Xbox One, and we're going to set it up as soon as I'm back home to Taiwan. And You know what? I never ever played GTA 5. I'm always watching these videos. Yeah. The guys, you know, the technical guys from the stream, are giving me the thumbs down over here. It just never happened. Someone needs to work, guys.
do you have time to play a 20, 40-hour game?
Yeah, that's the problem. You know what? The only game I'm playing is Age of Empires 2. And it's a Microsoft game.
Yeah.
It is a Microsoft game. How cool is that? No, there's so many mods for this.
We'll get you to Age of Empires free next year.
No, I just can't wait to check it out and to try it out, and to really know what's going on over there. And now that Windows 10 is on all of my systems, right, it just makes perfect sense. Well, Boris, thank you so much once again for joining us here. I'm quite excited to see what's coming up with you guys and for you guys in the future. Once again, congrats to the ones who did the Build conference this year. It was completely different this year compared to all the other ones before, and I think that's one thing you hear about Microsoft very often these days. This is completely different to what I expected. Yeah. The keynote was already amazing, right? And the atmosphere and the vibe and the enthusiasm that you created for the developers community, it just tells me that there's... it was a change for... I almost thought that for the good would be an understatement, because it was quite awesome and amazing, like you said before. So thank you so much, guys. We have a little break of about like 5 minutes, and then we're gonna be back with Jens from LG. I'm going to talk about their latest developments here, what they announced here at the show floor. So just bear with us for the next 5 minutes. We're going to have a little walkthrough from the show for our hands-on or whatnot. So I see you soon.